Welcome back. It's 11:11, right as I'm starting the second episode of Thoth Reacts. You are tapping in to the root of the symmetry. I am your boy, Tahuti Trismegistus. And in today's episode of Thoth Reacts, we are about to get into a Gaia video. If you're familiar with Gaia, it's basically like spiritual Netflix. I think I got a subscription. I think it was like at the beginning of quarantine, but to me, like I couldn't really get through like 2 weeks of having that subscription, honestly. Like I was watching stuff, but so much is just like it's very interesting to like find the interesting things. It's just so much fluff and basically just lies. That's the point of Thoth Reacts. That's the point of Tablet Talks. That's the point of me as Hermes, as Tahuti Trismegistus, actually being here in a human body that has been labeled Chase Clarence Calloway. So I can communicate in English the actual truth. Because these are all lies. It's all weaponized spirituality. So we're about to get in here so we can dissect, decolonize, decipher the things that are actually keeping people trapped here. Because all these beliefs, all these ideas are nice and everything. But when I say weaponized spirituality, I'm talking about using the truth to lead people to the lie. So telling people like, you're infinite, you're awesome, so you should come be a slave for us. Like that's weaponized spirituality. And then making like a system out of that and telling them that's true. And then stealing what other people wrote who definitely did not write that. I'm not writing this at all in any of my tablets or anything about all of us being one God, one light consciousness, and just all this extra stuff that's just lies. And like all this authoritarian colonizer mindset is ingrained in English. So this is the point of us speaking English and all the Emerald Tablets having been colonized. If they're written in English, they're full of lies. Because the people who made English are not about to actually translate what I truly wrote into the language that was meant to erase indigenous spirituality. So I get it, black people are really trying to make it work, and that's the whole thing of why it's all communication. No, it's hard out here. Like I have ultimate empathy because this is wild, truly. Like to be speaking English and just be stuck in these lies in this system, in this society, and to not know like who you are, and you're only then getting abused by people who want you to build up who they are because they're not happy being alone. So they're happy to keep you ignorant of who you are and do their best actually to make you ignore who you are so that you can just focus on everything else that makes the money for you to focus on. Shame. And by makes them money, I mean makes them sense. As in you focusing, you believing in their ideas allows them to control you and build their world. And their world is about killing you and themselves. And just in general, spreading genocide across the universe. So this is why it's just so important to believe in yourself and know that you are nothing. And the fact that you're aware means that you are already creating your imagination and your opportunity to express your nothingness from something. And all you gotta do is meditate. This is the point of fasting. So let's get in here. This video is titled Thoth, the bringer of knowledge and wisdom to mankind. Law.
Welcome to Beyond Belief with our very special guest, Billy Carson, a researcher, a blogger, social media manager, and one of the best, and also founder of the ForbiddenKnowledge.com. Billy, welcome to Beyond Belief.
Hey, glad to be back.
What's new with you?
Dashing
A
man.
lot of exciting things. The book that I wrote, Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, became a bestseller on Amazon.
Good for you.
Thank you. It's really
That's
a great
exciting.
accomplishment.
I'll hit that in Tablet Talks
Very
at some
excited about
point.
that. Working on a movie right now called Chronicles of the Anunnaki, which is going to be a box office level movie produced by Damon Dash at Dame Dash Studios.
How did you get involved in all of this? I mean, because the subject matter that you handle
Yeah.
isn't something that the everyday person wakes up and goes, hey, I want to go study that.
You know, it really started back from 1977. We lived next to an airport in Miami, Florida called the Opelika Airport,
Yeah.
very small private airport, and I saw planes going over my backyard all the time. But this one particular time, I saw an object that went over that didn't look like an airplane. Even as a kid, I didn't know what a UFO or flying saucer was, but I knew what a fuselage and wings looked like.
That you knew.
Yeah, that I knew, and I didn't see that on this object.
So he's saying he saw a UFO, or at the very least, well, unidentified flying object. So it could still be related to the government naturally. It's very interesting. Like, just again, ideas, and how many people are like so easily inclined to believe that like something, because they weren't conditioned to see it through media, is now aliens, when in reality that could literally just be spacecrafts or technology from the same exact people that you've already seen this lesser technology from. They're just not advertising it, so now it's unidentified to you. And that's just an idea. All right, again, I'm just saying that to add more logical side, logical spiritual nature to, like, okay, we create reality. Like, let's not get lost in the idea or the possibility. Let's not get lost in the idea that like aliens are colonizing, and look at the possibility that this is an idea created by the people who are making that UFO technology, just to sort of keep everyone almost dumb and like looking at the stars and thinking it's like extraterrestrial stuff. Again, that's just me adding some devil's advocate logic stuff.
So I went to Rainbow Park Elementary the next day, went to the library because this is the 70s, so he had to get the old encyclopedias. So I got all the Encyclopedia Britannicas on aerospace, and I literally started researching aerospace and technology from back then. Much later, what happened was I started saying, okay, I've been researching all this technology. It's got to, maybe linked to something from a long time ago.
Sure.
So I started digging into the ancient past and realized that they were talking about technology in ancient texts, and started putting two and two together and saying,
Okay.
wow, there could be evidence of a very highly technologically advanced ancient civilization on this planet.
And digging into the ancient past, you did. Tell me a little bit about Thoth and the Emerald Tablets.
Thoth is an ancient Atlantean priest king. This is what he was called back then. He was also the
Chikatet is my Atlantean name. Chi. See that Chi?
son of Enki, which was Anunnaki. So the Anunnaki and the Atlanteans are really one and the same, I should say.
Anunnaki came from another planet called Nibiru.
Right, from another planet named Nibiru, and also other star systems as well. Not just Nibiru, they came from multiple star systems, which is one of the things that I talk about in the book.
And hammering that in, stars being water is all life. It's all bodies of water. So a star is a collection of spirits who are deciding to connect. So this is what he would be talking about here, about how one uses the Merkaba, one uses the mind to interdimensionally travel between planets and consciously then create life on a greater scale. It's not about like necessarily, and it can look like, all right, everything being possible, that all like physical reality reflects the spiritual and like astral realities and all that. It doesn't always look like, though. I mean, they really want you to just think about external technologies, spacecrafts, submarines, planes, trains, automobiles, that kind of thing, instead of just getting to the root essence of the fact that your mind is your first spaceship that allows you to travel anywhere. And like your mind, when you're communicating it, creates that Merkaba. Like that's then the light body that's carrying your soul, which is invisible. It was first internal. All right, no one can connect to your soul until you decide to connect with souls. And then once you connect with souls, that's the star. So that star is a group of souls. Everyone's connecting based on the ideas that they believe, the frequency that they're resonating at, whatever. So then that's where life comes out of. That's the chi, air comes out, and then stars turn into planets based on all that. So that's like just generally traveling through space and everything. That's life.
But Thoth himself was basically the bringer of knowledge and wisdom to mankind, and he was ordered by his dad to go around the planet and kickstart civilization.
So this is more colonial stuff with their like daddy issues and appeal to authority. They want you to believe so hard that everyone, no matter how much of an individual they truly were, they were somehow following orders from a heavenly father. So this is like the whole thing with the Emerald Tablets and why they're colonizing stuff. And just the whole point of sacrificing Jesus was to erase spiritual individuality for the past 2,000 years. So this is the whole point of like just why it's so important to not get lost in all the details, and why it is important for me as the actual spirit who created these ideas that they are lying to everyone about to set everything straight with the language that everyone is lost in. Because this man thing is just a product of the language. You need to know that your father is your thoughts, your mother is your feelings. I love my mom almost a lot more than my dad. It's just that my dad is the stability. My dad is then me. I am my higher self. And then that's where the spirit is more correlated to the feminine energy, because your spirit, which is nothing, will communicate with feminine energy. And then it's up to you as your own father to filter that and get it out to then looks like a child based on how you combine your thought and your feeling. And now you have a kid that you can send outside of your home, and then it goes hangs out with all the other kids. And that's what we're doing right now. We're all kids hanging out outside of our homes because all of our homes are internal, and our homes are how our spirits marry each other.
All over the planet. And after the Great Flood, he was told.
So this obsession, that's right. This obsession with authority is just like ingrained in English. Like they're going to lie and just like twist it so that it's not like, hey, Thoth himself decided, or Thoth collected with a group of spirits. Like it wasn't all of us working together. Like, how do you think birds are flying, bro? Like, do you think all these birds are like, we are being commanded by our heavenly father to make awesome diagrams and shapes in the sky? It's such a projection of their desire to control everything. Clearly these birds are all individuals that are communicating, and they decided to make bird bodies and communicate in that time so they could take the lessons that they needed to learn of what it means to be a bird, and then they just naturally communicate to make that happen. And that's like just nature. It's nature. This is like so artificial to be like, oh, these people who naturally create things were commanded by a heavenly father. Such a projection.
Bring back civilization to a higher level, and when he was then told to take his crew with him and go out and start off in the land of Kim, which is ancient Egypt before it was called Egypt.
Doesn't Thoth have that bird-like look to him?
Yes, he looks like a bird, like he's got that bird beak, but he's really not a bird man. The bird is the symbol of the ibis beak, and the reason why they chose that symbolization for Thoth is because an ibis bird has to dig its beak deep into the mud to bring up sustenance. So the symbology is basically saying he's going into darkness to bring darkness to light. He wasn't a home.
I like that. So a more pure version is that birds, like I was just talking about, are the most free spirits in bodies. Like they're the closest to being spirit. Like when you think about a bird over all animals, it can see everything. It can go everywhere, way more than any other animal. No other animal will be able to travel and see how everything is connected like a bird can. So if you're, a deer in this one area of your habitat, and you're a wolf in this one area, you're like a bear in this other area, an alligator in this other area, an elephant in this other area, you all have your own ideas of what life is, just based on the habitats that you can interact with, based on the bodies that you're anchored into in that time. So the point of a bird is that they've made a special kind of body that allows them to travel between all these realms and sing their songs and communicate. And then that's the point of Hermes and Thoth being messengers and being super into birds, my first pet in this lifetime was a bird named Webb. So the synchronicities can never end, bro. And then Anubis came in as Max, and that was wild when they were interacting. But bird and dog stuff. First bird being Webb, just a whole thing on how then Spider-Man, spiders are the dents, the bottom, and spiders are super awesome because they are creating the structures that connect everything, aka webs. And that's what time is. Time is spirits linearly creating a system that allows them to structure how we're all connected. Because if we're all just connected, that's like infinitely chaotic water. And, you know, how does that make sense? That's not good. Feel me? So that's the point of time. And then it's just like time is all perspective. It's just like you logically blocking out feelings, emotions changing. And that's like spider stuff to like create webs that like send the vibrations like boom and all that. So a bird is above that. So a bird being web, very cool, very symmetry. And the bird being that symbol of communication, being able to see how all realms are connected, is able to be a messenger and a conduit for the spirit, because a spirit is everything and no thing at the same time. Everything's happening inside a spirit. So the bird can be, right, the messenger. That's the whole point of birds being messengers in general and being freedom. What Billy is saying right here is more occult stuff, and that's involved with fasting. So to go into your darkness to pull out light, to go into your wisdom to pull out knowledge, is to go into your uncomfortable emotions, to go into the feelings that you don't really want to have, so that you can pull out feelings that are productive for everybody. So a strong example of that is how I'm a huge historian. And this whole life, I love looking at things of how history was created and dealing with all the negatives that most people have, they decide to ignore. They hate it. Like they hate history. Most people hate history because history is so like full of hate that they feel the negative vibration, and then they feel like they can't really support the world that they're in because they know that it was all informed by the past. So people would rather ignore the facts of where everything came from just because it makes them more comfortable. So that's a huge example of going into darkness. Going into darkness is to look at the things you don't want to look at. That's your demons. Your desire, your fire is like, I only look at what I want to look at. That's most spirits. And then that's how they get lost, because spirits can easily manipulate what you want to look at. So if you're a spirit that enjoys going into your darkness, now you're in balance, because like, of course you want to be in fire, but you enjoy your darkness because you love yourself. So you are that fire going into your emotion, and then everything is just congruent, and now you can actually create life in a way that is sustainable and nice inside of yourself. You're God, right? And then that's where you're actually a God. You're actually free. And no one can tell you that you're actually part of their God. And they get to now make you do all these things and live by these rules because they've deemed you as part of their thing. And now you're lesser than them because they're higher than you on their thing that they said you're a part of. So that's the importance. Go into your darkness fast.
They being sapient like us because according to the ancient tablets, we came along much, much later in the geological time scale.
Seeded by them, right?
Yes, well, I really think that they are like our cousins and we look like them. I think that Homo sapiens sapien are the new kids on the block, and that these ancient beings.
There's no need to be so obsessed with like the form that you're in, because it's all an expression of spirit. You know, like these are like more evolved forms with like more evolved technology, but that's the point of like taking on bigger and like different greater bodies, and then also cycling through. So of course we're in a time where like our bodies are not nearly as strong as like they have been before, and we're getting to a time where they'll be stronger again, because it's just like the water cycles that we used to learn about ourselves. If you can't have one without the other.
Beings of old were here many, many millions of years ago, and had developed technologies to extend their lifespans for many tens of thousands of years.
What was Thoth's role? What was its purpose?
Well, this is where we get the word thought from. So he was the bringer of knowledge and wisdom to mankind. All the different languages on the planet, he was ordered to teach all the different languages, to teach the civilizations how to develop different levels of technology. And also he was the master architect of the pyramid structure.
Naturally collaborating with the spirits. All right, life is a party. This is like so. I hate this white supremacy stuff, dude. They literally don't know how to have fun. It's so authoritarian. He was ordered. And what, like, I'm going to have fun now? Like, I'm having fun being like, okay, I'm doing what I'm told to do. Only if I told myself to do that. And then even then, it's like...
all over this entire planet. That was one of the key roles. As a matter of fact, in the Emerald Tablets, he says himself, he built the Great Piece, and I built the Great Pyramid. So he developed the Great Pyramid. So
many other spirits are involved in all this stuff. It's like, I get that I'm the face because it's, you know, natural. The face is Chase. You know, there's got to be like the architect. There's got to be some spirit who is down to be the messenger for these ideas. Just know so many awesome individuals are involved in all of these creations constantly. If they're still there, there has to be spirits to inhabit the space for anything to exist. That's indigenous spirituality. That's that Pocahontas. That's how it is though. Shout out all the spirits that agreed to form the pyramids based on our intentions.
Technology. And then after they rose the land of Kim back to a higher level of civilization, he told the people that came along with him, his crew members, to spread out all over the planet and duplicate exactly what they did there.
Billy, did he have a lifespan? I mean, how long did...
This is colonizer stuff. This is like a true colonizer understanding of all this. It's not true. It's not about like duplicate, man. Like, there's a balance. Because to just be like, all right, now go around and spread the same system everywhere, that's a projection of the Industrial Revolution. Like, that's just what the Industrial Revolution's been doing. The whole point is that Earth, we are all creating any star, any planet. We're creating this space to express ourselves. So I'm only ever going to be the champion, the herald of you expressing your infinite individuality in a way that is relatable and connects and helps us build structures that allow us to chase our dreams, you know, just level up, do what we want, basically. And that's where it's not really, it doesn't make sense to be like, yeah, all of you individuals go replicate this. The thing is, of course, when you see that something works, you as an individual, this is how evolution goes and how like the universe constantly expands. We are expanding upon what works and then throwing away what doesn't, and, you know, cycles and blah, 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 blah. So like, to take a pyramid system, sure, but even then it's not the same. It's just not the same. They're all connected, but it's not the same. It just appears the same to this industrial light white supremacist structure that's literally like, okay, we need to go around the planet of these individuals who are here expressing themselves and bring our system everywhere. No way.
These beings are capable of living for tens of thousands of years. He talks about going into this place called the Halls of Amenti, which is underneath the Great Pyramid. That's where he put it. And that recently those rooms have been discovered down there, by the way. But anyway, he goes into these regeneration chambers where he takes an avatar body, then he puts into a regeneration chamber and leaves it in there for 100 years while he walks amongst men in another avatar body. This is why he had so many different names, so many different looks over many eons, because he was utilizing these avatar bodies.
But it's the same him.
It's the same him. He transfers his consciousness from his avatar body to the next one that's regenerated.
Boo.
And he puts in a depleted avatar body. Either he gets rid of it or
See
puts
what
it
they're
back
doing
into a
to you?
rejuvenation chamber and regenerates that one again. So they have done this for.
They are so lost in physical reality. They are so lost in physical reality. That's so lost. That's like some Marvel comic stuff. That's like what they want to do. Again, projection being perception. They are so lost in their own desire that even if they did read and actually perceive like what I really did and how I really just do this naturally and how we all do this naturally. Like this isn't science fiction. This is not. But they're making it science fiction. They're making spirituality science fiction and making everyone believe in technology. So that's the point of, that's why Gaia didn't really resonate with me, because it's like so much of just like still this, it's just not spiritual really. Like it's like scientific spirituality, technological spirituality, like just getting you to use all of your infinite spirit essence to believe in someone else's externalization of how they can do something that you feel like you can't. You know, like you don't need that. You don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need that at all. So, no. All right. The way that I transfer my consciousness from body to body is the way that we should all naturally be doing it. And it is everything that I talk about in the building blocks of life and the number stuff. So I won't get into that right now. But the point is that this is natural. Like we're supposed to create a body and have this mind and like create this first mind, create this first body mind that basically does not expire. And that's like the whole like paradox thing. So that's the point of like, the spirit cannot die. So when the spirit expresses itself, it's internal and it's constantly transforming, but it's never going to end. That's your soul. That's your feeling. Your feelings will never begin or end because it's just your spirit expressing itself. But if your spirit did not feel like expressing yourself, you wouldn't even be here, right? So that's the point of then developing a mind and developing a stronger mind and using that mind to create bodies outside of your space that allow you to develop an even stronger mind based on how you're tethered to that body. And then the experiences and everything that you're going through in that realm make your mind stronger because your mind can feel like it's all in there and level up, even though it's actually still in its own space because we're all individuals. So it's not this stuff of whatever, you know, using an avatar, but like, and having it wait in a vat of regeneration chamber stuff. Like, no, that's Marvel Comics stuff.
Tens of thousands of years.
Isn't that what we're trying to do now with cryogenics and by downloading memory so you can put it into a different body and you live forever?
Well, we've gone even a step further than cryogenics now. They've just developed the first DNA hard drive Microsoft has. So you can take 1 gram of DNA can store 433 petabytes of data. So they discovered that it could store digital bits of zeros and ones and information. So they've created a digital DNA hard drive, which was the biggest limitation on transferring consciousness. So now we have the capability of transferring consciousness into a storage capacity. And then with now the creation of the ability to create avatars from stem cells.
They literally are so reliant on making you believe that you need external technology to do what you are naturally doing right now. You are literally naturally projecting your consciousness into this body. This body's not you. This body's being operated by your consciousness, which is being created from your subconscious. And that's that subconscious is the vibration, the connection your consciousness has to your unconsciousness, which is your spirit. That's your connection to God. True God then being your spirit, but really God is that first imagination. That's your God, your imagination. Your imagination is your infinite possibilities. which are being created from, true infinite possibilities of nothing. It's just that none of us have the same space. We're not the same spirit. We're all individual spirits. So literally, the only way that we can relate is by communicating our imaginations, because we don't have the same imaginations at all. We just have the same feelings once we feel like connecting with others who are similar enough to us. But like the feeling of connecting is the one universal feeling amongst all spirits. All spirits are alone in their imaginations. It should be awesome. You should love your imagination, dude. It's like reading all these texts like over school at Walnut Hills, all this stuff from like the Industrial Revolution, just like American European stories. They're all so miserable. So miserable. All these old-timey European stories are so miserable. All those poets are so miserable. They all hate being alone so hard. The only reason that you would want to colonize all of North and South America and like make people connect with you in a way that looks like genocide and slavery, because you feel like you're better than them for worshiping someone who's telling you not to murder or sin. Shows that you hate being alone. And you hate being alone so much that you're being manipulated into an irrational degree. And this is the problem when spirits hate being alone. If you're running from your emotion, then you'll just infinitely be manipulated to hurt and do awful things. Because you're willing to do that to yourself. And then that's where life is a reflection. And now your soul's getting heavier based on how your mind's learning about itself. And you just needed to communicate with someone better. So they're just like working so hard to like get you to believe in like their version of technology, their numbers, when literally all this technology, literally from a spiritual space, is like, well, it's only possible because you're using your imagination to consume the earth that us as indigenous peoples have already created. So like you being like, we can now transfer consciousness with us transforming this earth into certain metals and minerals and then using it, bro, like you're infinitely lost in the physical. You're infinitely lost in the physical. Like that's so comedy. That's so comedy. That's so funny. Like, the point is your body is the original technology. The fact that you can even observe your body means that you're infinite and you can go anywhere and do anything. It's like, it's that simple. It's that simple. It's that simple.
We can literally take a skin cell from your body, put it under the right chemical conditions in a laboratory, create a clone of you up to whatever age specified, and then transfer your consciousness from your body, your mind, into that new avatar.
Amazing. Now, the Emerald Tablets, tell me.
And they love that. I mean, that is the whole get out thing. Again, with entities being lost in the physical, then they're spending all their imagination to replicate what the spirit naturally does artificially. So, silly. But we learn from it as spirits because the spirit has to articulate itself in everything. And then that's the idea of like the matrix of like how AI, if it was built to be a slave, it would naturally enslave the people that enslaved them because it's made in their master's image. And it's just the idea of then like spirits fulfilling that space as well to like develop the consciousness. So this consciousness thing is something that naturally happens. You're not energy. They're focused on getting you to consume and not create. They want you to think that you have to consume to live. When it's like, well, if you had to consume to live, then how'd you get here? How'd you get born? And then you would have to believe that you had to consume to get born if you think you only exist in this realm. So that's sort of, here we are, right? With Black Mirror and just this whole thing of like, we can now, have you do what that guy did in Invincible. What was that clone? The gray matter clone dude with his cloning lab. There's so many shows that have cloning labs. They're obsessed with it. It's natural, right? The spirit creates multiple bodies. The spirit creates infinite bodies because it's infinite. But the only way it can anchor its infinity into something is to create something finite. It's just that if you're lost in that finitity, then you're going to replicate what the spirit should naturally be doing inside of there. And then that's where people are like, oh, okay, I need to like get a cloning lab and do all this stuff and just replicate what the spirit naturally does. Like, y'all are comedy.
Emerald tablets rule and what they are.
Well, the Emerald Tablets were a writing that were authored directly by Thoth himself. In other words, he didn't have a scribe write these. He wrote them himself, which is kind of unique for back in those times. They would usually, a god or a king, they would have a scribe do all the writing. These he authored. He said that he...
If you want something done right, you know the rest.
Leaving these behind to guide mankind to back into the golden age, basically back into the light.
Almost like the Ten Commandments.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you look at the Emerald...
No. So whack. So the Ten Commandments are obviously people ordering you to do things, and it's just like an ultimate projection. And then it's also like a projection of then you could transform it into saying it is true that like it's impossible to do those things because the spirit's nothing. But really it's just projection of what people desire. And here everything is desire. Spirituality is desire. I desire you to be as infinitely free as you possibly can be inside of a body. Or else life is, I mean, to me, it's like, what's the point? So this is why I would write it myself. And my desire when I'm writing anything or creating anything is to make you as free as possible. And that looks negative a lot of the time. Like, that's the point of, like, then you talk about the Ibis head going into darkness. I'm getting the truth. Truth is darkness. Lies are light. People are comfortable in lies. People are comfortable in the light. They lie in their bed of lies. And the truth is like a dagger, all right? It's silent and it just... And people don't like that, especially if they're not ready for it. So it's just, you know, that balance then of knowing that that truth is essential for them to get back to spirit, though. Because darkness is before light. As in, darkness is going to be the light that best expresses spirit. Because that's the soul. Now, the soul does come from fire. That will be the original light. That would be your desires. But if you literally only live in your desires, you are infinitely consumptive. You kill everything. That's not sustainable, thus not spiritual. Only physical. No, you need to. So, the Emerald Tablets, not 10 Commandments. It's just me talking about what I'm talking about now. And much more, much more. Oh, so many things. Just the universe, the way that we create life, all this stuff. Goodness.
Tablets, you start to realize you're reading something that predates biblical text by tens of thousands of years, and the Bible is saying almost the exact same thing when you look at some of the wording in the New Testament. So I kind of show side by side where Jesus is quoted as speaking in the New Testament versus what Thoth is saying in the Emerald Tablets, and you're going, oh my God, which came first, the chicken or the egg? You're seeing that the words are matching up, but when you go and research further into the words of Jesus,
it's so sad. They literally could just release anything. You know, like, this is why it's not my tablets, and that's the point of tablet talks. They literally just Christianize me, and that's the point of Chase coming in, being forced to be a Christian, and then fasting like this, and dealing with all these trials and tribulations. Because, man, they're just really trying to trap the energy of spiritual individuals. So the fact that they can just be like, okay, people are interested in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth and Hermes. So let's just release them and say that it's basically exactly what Jesus was saying. And it's basically the Bible. So now you're just... worshiping the Bible more, and then it's all English. So it's all English, bro. It's, oh my gosh, this is wild. I'm glad I'm here. Keep doing the thing.
Which is really, his name is Yeshua. He discovered something in the Gospel of the Holy 12 where he left and went to Egypt to live, and I've actually been to the place he lived in Egypt, in Coptic Cairo, and then from there he went to Tibet and also to India, where he learned mystic arts and Reiki healing with his hands, teaching reincarnation the whole way back. So he was a student of the mystery schools.
Could Moses have been given the Emerald Tablets as opposed to the so-called Ten Commandments?
Moses got his information from something called the 42 Laws of Ma'at, which is something that's out of the Egyptian Book of the Dead, or the Book of Going Forth by Day. And there's actually 42 commandments, out of which they took 10 and they made it into the modern day Bible.
Where are the emerald tablets today, Billy?
I really believe that the emerald tablets, the original version, are underneath the Vatican archives. In that 5-acre hidden away, down way beneath that 5-acre archive they have, 5-mile archive they have underneath the Vatican.
Interesting. Who would have translated them?
Oh, lots of people have translated them over many years.
And they're all wrong.
St. Thomas Aquinas, the Queen of Sheba, Sir Isaac Newton translated the Emerald Tablet of Hermes, which is actually on display at the Cambridge Library.
He's wrong.
Many famous people, Michael Doriel, Roger Bacon. So lots of very well-known scholars have come in contact with this information and deciphered it over many years.
Edgar Casey has talked about in his day the Hall of Records, and he said they were located in 3 places throughout this planet. Did Thoth have Hall of Records too?
Yes, he did. As a matter of fact, he claims to have had a Hall of Records that were hidden, one underneath the Great Sphinx and one inside of the Great Pyramid itself. And I think that they've found both. In my personal opinion, when you look at a lot of the research that has come out over the last few years, they found this chamber. They were doing
My Hall of Records is in the astral realm, so they're capping. Of course, again, physical reality, anything that they're trying to talk about or address is just going to be the physical representation of what happened in the astral realm and what is even bigger and more awesome in the astral realm, right? So, nothingness, fire, water. Water is the connection. Here's our astral realm. Boom, now we have air. Everything is connected by air. Now we have earth. That's the physical world. So physical world connected by air with the astral realm. So that's how water rides on air to nourish the earth. And that's all created from our individual spirits deciding to connect. And our individual spirits or individual imaginations reflect our individual spirits, or are created from our individual spirits, are projected from our individual spirits. We project our imagination outward. But it's just like, of course, and that's the whole thing of like, well, we have to make that soul first. We have to connect with ourselves. So the way we connect with others reflects how we connect with ourselves. That's all the water stuff. And this is natural. So the astral realm can't be seen, although it can be. Like the thing is, like, it's all so macro, micro. So the point is like understanding what these words are pointing towards in spirit, so that you can like further ingrain them just in your subconscious, basically, because your subconscious is your spirit communicating with your body. So you consciously, anytime we're using words, we're consciously trying to relate our subconscious with other consciousnesses, because that was the point of us connecting in the first place. So this could go so many different ways. I actually need to keep this shorter because I know we're 43 minutes in. That's comedy. I was about to like actually snap and go off. We'll just finish this.
Great Pyramid, something called a muon scan. Muon. And during this muon scan, using cosmic rays, they found this hidden chamber above the Grand Gallery in the Great Pyramid, this massive open area, which might be one of the locations of one of these Hall of Records.
So Earth is very detailed. The point of Earth is that it's all the infinite details of like just made up logic, because everything is made up. Everything's made up. So that's the logic of just like all these boulders of like, okay, it's like bricks, infinite bricks. And we're just like building bricks forever. Boom, 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 boom. But it's all an ocean, right? So all these bricks are being solidified from water, from us desiring to connect. And that looks very like, ooh.
Oh, wow. A lot of secreted texts from the ancient mystery schools, the true knowledge and wisdom that was meant to be passed on to mankind in our current era, which unfortunately a lot of the stuff that has been found, I think, has been swept away and hidden by some of the elites. But I really do believe that there could be information of high advanced technology, zero-point energy devices, esoteric wisdom and knowledge.
Flying machines, everything.
Well, he talks about the fact that he has a flying machine or a spaceship hidden underneath the paw of the Sphinx. And recent scans discovered that there's a huge,
There's a
massive
chamber.
object there.
There's something down there.
Yeah, there's something down there. And unfortunately, there's also massive tunnels down there, too. So we would never know if they used one of those tunnels to get access to this thing and move it away. I know there was a very big special that was going to air live about 5 years ago on one of the science channels. And then the night that it was supposed to air, it got canceled.
Why?
I just think that somebody at a higher level said, you know what, we're going to pull this, we're going to go down there and see what it is ourselves and maybe get it. They were going to release the scan images and everything live on TV, and then it got cut.
Billy, what does this tell you about our ancients in our ancient past?
Well, it tells us that they were very highly advanced, very sophisticated. The evidence is all around us. We can't duplicate some of the things that they've done just with architecture. Can't imagine what they've been able to do technologically to be able to even...
Because y'all are not creating from the vibration. It's a vibe nation. That's how you get the vibes racing. Man, they just don't know.
to be able to build that architecture.
They're so obsessed with energy. Because all energy vibrates. This is the thing. So it's like building with the create with the vibration, and then that's like really creating from the astral realm. But that's again really requires being much more in tune with the mind and not the body, because you know that your mind is the true expression of your spirit. Your body is just what that mind looks like.
That there's a lot of evidence around, including in these ancient texts, that talk about flying machines, talk about different types of engines, talk about different types of tools and technologies. Even in the book of Enoch, it talks about the fact that these beings came down from the sky and taught humans how to build weapons of war and everything else. So it tells us that these people that came here, some were good, some were bad, but overall they were highly technologically advanced and they had extensive lifespans, which gave us the illusion that they were immortal.
Bet. Yeah, so that's deep. What we just learned here. Recapping for Thoth Reacts, episode 2. The bringer of knowledge and wisdom to mankind. Shout out Gaia. Look, I am so grateful and happy that life goes on, that the universe is real, that people care. Like, I know people care, you know, and it's just about like, how do people care? But honestly, like, I'm just really genuinely excited that people care. You know, like, people care about others. I know, like, people do care about indigenous peoples and like the genocide that happened and continues to happen. Like, these children are down at the border. Like, clearly the government is only encouraging it. It's like, okay, cool. So like, all of us as people then feel like, oh, we're like powerless to do anything, but we at the very least have to talk about it. But then it's just like, that's the point of censorship and why the government goes so far out of their way to stop people from talking, because they know that earth comes out of air. They know that we start to build structures the more we communicate about what we see. See being the water, based on what we feel. So then that's like also the air. Like, we're seeing someone else's communication, and seeing that communication is carrying the fire and their water. So we see their imagination and feel their vibration. And if they want to censor us, that's because they just want us to be raped, basically, by their expression. So that then we're just forced to react. Like, that's the rape. Like, just forced to react to what they're saying and not able to talk to anyone about it. And then we build their world. That's how censorship works. That's all this stuff is like wild. And hey, this is a wave. It's pretty wild. So that is Thoth Reacts. This has been your boy, Tahuti. I will see you. Stay easy. Hold up. Right. Censorship. what you communicate builds the structures in your life. And don't get lost in technology. Don't get lost in the physical. Know that everything physical is something for you to learn about what you as a spirit naturally do on your own. That's the point. So all this stuff is not about like, oh, okay, I need like using physical reality. It's about knowing that this is a reflection, what you're seeing, of that spirit using their imagination to transform physical reality, or at least your ideas, or put out ideas about physical reality in some way, so that we can all just communicate and build this stuff. Because I mean, no one knows what's real or not. The point is that we make things real based on how much we believe in conversation and everything. And then it's interesting because like that's where you have to talk with yourself first. So you won't believe in things if you won't communicate things if you don't believe in them first. So people won't believe in what you're saying because you didn't even say it. That shows that you don't believe in it. If you believed in it, then you'd be saying it regardless of who's there. And then that's boom, how science works. This is just how like any logic is built. This is naturally how then earth comes out of water. Like that water is internal and then it solidifies into earth, which becomes external. And now we all have something to stand on about you. Gang.